Hey everybody, welcome to CCJ 3701, Research Methods in Criminology. I'm Dr. Jensen. We're doing Lab 3, Part 3. So this is where we actually go forward with the recode. So I understand you may be doing different parts, different times of the week and different times of the day. So again, this would be the time to open your data, to launch SPSS, and kind of get to this point where we're going to do the recode of the variable. So if you need to, pause the video and then resume. All right, so we're going to go in the Transform menu and then go to recode into different variables. Okay, so now it's going to ask us which one do you want to recode. Okay, again, you can kind of drag this window around a little bit, make it bigger, easier to read. I don't particularly like this default in SPSS. It actually shows the label, and you can kind of hover over it and see things. Not particularly helpful because I can't remember exactly how the bully question was worded. One little trick, you wrote down S7Q45, right? That was the variable name. We can use that to find it easier. So if you right-click, you put your cursor inside this list and you right-click, you can actually change it to display the variable names, and you can also do some different kinds of sorts and stuff too. So that's kind of fun. Let's change it to display variable names. Aha, now we can actually go to S7Q45 and find it a little bit easier because it's kind of ordered that way. Once you have it, pop it into your queue, and then it says, okay, what do you want to change it into? Now we need a name. We're just going to type the name Bully. Doesn't really matter if you use uppercase or lowercase. I just like uppercase. We need to give it a label. Bully. Really creative, right? Sometimes I put Bully Recoded just to remind myself this is the new one that I messed with. Remember, you can have spaces in your label, but not in your name. Okay, so if we had more than one word up here, we'd have to use an underscore. Okay, now we're going to hit this button, old and new values. So this is where we come back to our coding scheme of what we're going to do. And again, this is nice to kind of have jotted down somewhere so you can refresh your memory of how you're going to make changes. You don't forget any values or any changes you need to make because it'll screw up your variable and it'll be total garbage. You can't analyze it because it'll be broken and wrong with errors inside it. So again, it's good to have this set aside so you can reference it while you're in the middle of using all these little buttons in SPSS. You can forget stuff. Okay, so by way of refresher, we're going to make our 1s, 2s, and 3s a 0, our 4s a 1, and then 6s, 7s, and missing data we're going to shove to missing. Okay, so that's our coding scheme, or the answer to number 12. We're going to make those changes now. So our old value of 1 is now going to become a new value of 0. Then click Add. Our old value of 2 is now going to become a new value of 0. Click Add. And you see it starts building in our little scheme right here in this part. Now our old value of 3 is going to become a new value of 0. And you can click Add. It puts that in there as well. Now our old value of 4, those are our always bullies, we're going to change to the new value of 1 because we're actually interested in kind of setting them aside and making them count. So another way to think about 0 and 1 variables is count these guys, not these guys. Count the 1s, not the 0s. Separate everybody so I can see if the 1s matter versus the 0s who may not. It lets me see the difference between the two because I kind of shoved them into little corners. Okay, they're still in the variable. They're still being measured and being analyzed, but it's just setting them aside. Okay, so click Add on that one. Then we want to put our 6s and 7s in there. So you could actually do this. 6 is now system missing. Click Add. You could also do a range if you wanted to, like 6 through 7 is system missing. That would also work as well. Or you can just add each of them individually one at a time. And then the last one we're going to do is system or user missing, system missing, and click Add. That's going to take care of those not in universe, non-response kind of stuff. If it's missing in the old variable, we still want to be missing in the new one. We still can't really analyze it. It doesn't mean anything. We can't interpret it. So this is what your coding scheme should look like. 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0. 4 is a 1, 6s and 7s and missing data are all system missing. Once you have that set up, you can click Continue, and now we're ready to hit Change. So this forces SPSS to make those changes, and then you click OK. Okay, what you actually see down here, there's some little script. Ignore this warning. This is me kind of fudging around with different data sets open all at the same time. You see right here it says recode S7Q45, and it has a little description of the changes you made in parentheses into bully. And then variable labels, label it this way, execute. These are the raw commands that you just ran inside a file menu. That's all it is. So you're like, wow, that was cool. It didn't do anything, Jensen. It did actually. Go back to your data set. So open up that window again. If you scroll all the way down, how many variables did you have to begin with? 301. How many variables do you have now? 302. So this is your newest variable. You just made a new one, okay? We got to do some work right here because right now it's just zeros and ones. They don't really mean anything. Go into the values column, okay? So it's kind of there in the middle. And click on the invisible blue box on the very edge. I'll show that one more time just so you can see. You kind of have to click on the edge of it. It'll reveal a little kind of labeling thing. It says value and labels. So the value of 0, we're going to label not bully for our purposes. And click add. And then hit a value of 1 and say bully and click add. So that way when we go to look at the data, everything's labeled and we know what the zeros and ones mean. When you're done with that, click OK. All right, now let's take a look at this variable we made and compare it to the variable we had. So let's go to the infamous Analyze menu and go to Descriptive Statistics and then Frequencies. The reason I'm doing this instead of doing that right click is I want to put these two variables in together and look at them side by side. Okay, so right here, I'm going to actually expand this a little bit so I can see better. I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor in there, right click, and flip it back to those variable names so I can find my stuff easier. Let's go to S7Q45. That's the original. Whoops, I went too far. Right there. Let's pop that into the variable Q. And then we're also going to scroll down. At the very bottom is the newest instance, the newest variable. There's bully. Let's put that inside the variable window as well and click OK. So now you're going to get two frequencies. The first frequency is the original variable. Whoop. Sorry, my output gets a little jumpy on the screen. The other frequency is the new variable that you just made. Okay, there's the original. Here's the new one. Whoops, for some reason it didn't generate the new one. Let's try that again. There we go. This is the wrong output. Let's close that. Do I want to save it? No. Okay. Sorry, I have multiple screens open. That's why it's getting all silly. So here's the original. Never, sometimes, usually, always. And here's the new one. It says not bully and bully. You made that variable. And you go, well, what did I just do? All you did was just kind of collapse all the categories and shove them on one side or the other. So this answers question 13. How many bullies and non-bullies do you have? Okay, so you have 410 bullies and 68,480 not bullies. Okay, you want to check your variable by actually adding up all the 1s, 2s, and 3s, the 54,342, the 13,633, and the 505 people, and all of that added up together should be 68,000 people. That should all be your not bullying, or the people that don't always bully. Okay, and then you have 410 always bullies. You still have 410 bullies in the new variable, so you shouldn't get new bullies in the new variable. Okay, if you started with 410 bullies, you should end with 410. This just reformats and kind of rearranges the variable so we can do a little bit easier analysis. That's all recoding is it just reorganizes the stuff inside the variable. So now we have the bully variable ready to go. Let's continue. And we checked it, it's right. Again, we should be able to compare it to the old one, just having things kind of rearranged. The lab continues, create a new variable named free lunch that represents whether a child receives free or reduced lunches or breakfast. Use a 0-1 coding scheme. 1 is yes, 0 is no. Write your coding scheme you use to create the variable. Don't forget to label your new variable. So you're going to do the exact same thing again on your own to create the new variable. So I'm actually going to turn you loose on this one to see what you remember from what we just did with recoding. So I'm going to prompt you through a few steps, and you can pause the video and so forth to do this. But this is good practice on your own. It's good to kind of try things. It's okay to make mistakes and get messy. That's how we learn. Okay, so what's the first thing we did? We want to make a free lunch variable. Well, we better go back in the data and find a free lunch variable. So let's go in the data and put our cursor in the label menu, or the label column, I should say. Hit that Control Find option. Let's look for the word lunch and see what we can find. Aha! At the very end of the data set, row 299, it says, during the past 12 months, did SC, any child in the household, I'm going to close this, Let's make this a little wider. Receive free or reduced cost breakfasts or lunches at school. Okay, so SC actually stands for study child. Sometimes we use FC for focal child, but it says, does this child, and it refers to someone specific we're talking about, receive the school or lunch breakfast program, the free lunch program. So that's the question we want. That question is C11, question 11B. Okay, so that's one we're going to work with to do the free lunches. Let's take a look at this variable. Okay, so we got to get to know it, make a, what's our purpose, get to know it, see what's inside it. So put your cursor on the variable name, right click, let's get some descriptive statistics on it. There it is. During the past 12 months, did the child receive free or reduced cost lunches? Yes, no, don't know, refuse, partial interview, missing, legitimate, skip. So again, those are those ones that we don't quite have complete information on. But here we have the variable. So what if you were to recode this? How would you recode it? That's a trick question. So you would go through the same coding scheme and some of those kind of things like you did with the bully question. But here's the thing. It's already coded as a 0 and a 1. 1 is yes, 0 is no. You actually don't have to recode this variable at all. Okay? It's already set up the way we want. But there is one problem. The missing data. Okay? So you go, see this little area that says valid and it has 0, 1, 6, 7, and the 6s and 7s are don't know and refused? That's a problem. We don't want those to be valid responses. We want them to be part of the missing ones because they don't really mean anything to us. How do you interpret an I don't know? You can't. Okay? So what we could do is we could go inside the missing column of the variable. So if we go back to row 299, go to the missing column, we can see that they've defined some values in a range. Okay, -1 to -4. We could also say include those 6s and 7s too if we wanted to. Okay. However, we should get some recoding practice, right? Let's do it. So I want you to figure out a way to recode that variable and push those 6s and 7s into missing data. There's a little trick that'll help you. Okay. So take a moment, pause the video, see if you can arrange that recode by yourself. If you feel a little stuck and you don't know where to start, go ahead and keep watching and I'll prompt you through some help. Okay. So again, transform, recode into different. SPSS always saves the last stuff you did. So we're just going to put this back using the arrow. Let's go to the end of the survey. That's C11Q11 variable that has the free lunch question in it. Pop it into your queue. You can name it free_lunch. I'm just going to call it free lunch kids. In the description, recoded. Okay, old and new values. So you could literally just say if it's a 1 in the old one, make it a 1 in the new one. Okay, a 1 is a yes. So it's basically saying copy it. Okay, so you could say 1 is 1, 0, 0. Okay, all this stuff again is stuff you want to remove. This is stuff from the last recode. This is SPSS trying to be convenient. And it's not necessarily convenient all the time, so we're just going to get rid of it and highlight each piece and hit remove. It's going to take it all out. Let's put our cursor back on value. 1 is going to be a value of 1, so this is a little bit different than last time. A 0 is going to be a value of 0. Okay, you could also hit value 1 copy. Okay, you could do that. Now I got an error because I already defined what a 1 is. Okay, but that's another thing you could do. Now we're going to put the value of 6 and say system missing on the new value and hit add. Value 7, system missing, hit add. And then again, that system or user missing is system missing, hit add. So this should actually be the recode and the coding scheme for the school lunches question. Did you get it right? The way you'll know is by hitting continue and then change. Click OK. There's your famous recode script that you have. This is where you'd want to run the frequencies to make sure that the responses you had in the original are similar to the new ones you got. Okay? And then you can answer the free lunches question. We'll see you in the next video.